What up, y'all? We back. I'm in the mix. DJ Switch, holding it down on the ones and twos. This is Def-i on the mic. I'm sitting next to the legendary DJ Kayote. Serpent City Records in the building. What up, y'all?
You're too kind, sir. But I appreciate that.
That was cool.
Thank you, DJ Switch, for having us up here.
You know
It's a
this.
special program you have going on here. Really enjoy it.
Thank
When
you.
I was driving to Dallas like maybe a month and a half ago, I was playing you on the lonely road, man. There was a road, like all it was like me, a couple of road runners, some jackrabbits. But I was hearing like you on the ones twos. It was dope. You're playing like Ice-T. You're playing a bunch of old, like, you know, 100, 110 BPM hip hop stuff. It was sick.
Heck yeah.
And then you played our. Actually, that's when you played the Rashawn Ahmad track.
Oh, definitely.
From our label, the Serpent City. That was a good feeling to hear you putting that in the mix. So I've never. Actually, that's the first time I ever heard it like that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
No one had like mixed it yet. that I
Dude,
heard.
I'm here for you. I'm here for the jams, man. That's straight hip hop. I've known you forever. You know, you're one of my good friends, and yeah, that sounds tight, man.
Thank you.
And I mean, you have it on, right? You have it on vinyl right here.
Yeah, I have. Well, this is a 45 acetate that Rim was able to hook up out in LA, and we got a couple of those to kind of test it out, and then it also helped with like promo pictures and stuff. It got the beat digging community to know that we were serious about it, like it really was happening.
Yeah.
'Cause there's, you know, like everything else, there's a lot of discussion, and then it never really pans out. So I really wanted people to be reassured, like, no, the vinyl is on its way. And the reason is because vinyl, pressing vinyl is such a time-consuming, painstaking process. I mean, we were able to like cut the track, do the video, do everything else in the time, and the vinyl's still just being made. You know, I mean, it's in progress right now. I don't know, you know, I don't bug my guy about it too much because I don't want to be one of those kind of people. Like, you know, but it's definitely on its way. The next, we did a track with Rashawn Ahmad, 2 tracks actually. That's gonna be a 12-inch single, and then we did the most known track right now is probably the Style Riding track, which features Def-i, which is the man to my left. And what are we up to now? I was happy when we had like 100 hits. Like, I was like, that's sick. We got 100 views, man. That's cool.
That's what I
like,
said.
that's kind of like, for me, like 100 is about where my popularity kind of topped out. Like the coolest thing I ever did in my life got like 120 maybe. So when we saw this, I was like, holy cow. So I mean, what's it up to now?
Yeah.
I think it's over like 63,000 views in less than a week. So that's pretty good for, you know, 2 guys from out in the desert.
Yeah.
And this, yeah, no shit, no shit. Good
Ain't
props.
too bad. Ain't too bad.
props.
I mean, what makes the track is Def-i's delivery. I mean, it's ridiculous. He had done it was like a live Facebook feed or something, and you were in front of one of the Knob Hill graffiti walls, just kind of running down graffiti science, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, like, you know, he knows what he's talking about. Like, usually you hear a graffiti track and you're like, yeah, but it sounds cool, like the video's cool, but like there's no real science there, like real graffiti science. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, Def-i know what he's talking about, and a lot of that stuff will go over people's heads unless you've, like, I'm not saying I have, but I know people who have, like, been in the train yard, been in the tunnels, been, you know, even lurking down in the subways or whatever. Like that kind of science is what's in the track. Maybe you could say we learned all that.
Yeah,
like
just being a part of the culture really for at least 10 years plus. I met a lot of writers in my time just traveling to other states, and when I first started to become like more of an MC and into the hip hop culture, it seems like the writers were more embracing than actual other MCs. So I'd stay at a lot of writers' houses. We'd sleep on their couches, and they really supported me and my brother Wake's self. At the time, Wake was like like he's saying, his voice didn't even drop yet. we were driving, and
you were a few pounds heavier back then too.
Yeah, I was a lot thicker, man. I was eating good. I was eating a lot of MCs. I was a battle rapper. So in that era,
cool.
yeah, the writers were definitely more willing to accept us into their houses, and because they knew we were just, you know, young, basically kids at that time, and we seen how it was done from different state to state, because we were traveling to enter battle competitions, rap battle competitions back in that era. They had tournaments where you could enter and maybe win up to $1,000 or a few $1,000s, and so that was one of our main outlets for young MCs to get out of state and go travel. And I was under 21, Wake's a few years younger than me at that time. So man, big ups to everybody who let us sleep on their couch,
But what are
sofas, all
are there
that.
any like famous, you know, whether they're famous on IG or famous in the real world, any writers like memorable to you?
Man, there's so many to name right now. But I guess locally, one of the first cats who really respected us was showed us love was Saigon, and
I love Saigon, dude.
mad love to Saigon. When he first seen us, I was really impressed with his skill too, because he could b-boy, he could paint very well. He's a very well-spoken person, and just the way he carried himself, and he was also a dope beatboxer, and I knew he could spit too, because a lot of these writers will actually rap too and cipher with you.
Yeah.
So we all, those are the ones that stuck out to me a lot, because they were the ones that would actually, you know, get down into cipher, hit an open circle, and then go paint some trains that night, you know. So that was pretty crazy. I love the artists who are able to do more than one element. You see that a lot out here in the Southwest.
Yes.
And I take pride in that, I guess, because some other places you go, a lot of people are focused on that one element of hip hop, and that's dope too, because you end up mastering that element. But there's people out there who can do more than just one, and props to everybody who's still doing it.
Yeah.
There's so many more writers out there.
Did
man.
you ever see the Kung clothing videos?
Oh yeah, I've seen a few of those, man. Yeah,
those are inspirational.
And he designed clothes too.
Explain what
I mean,
those
come
are.
on.
What are those?
The Kung clothing videos was a VHS that he put out, and he made a kung fu movie to promote his videos, and he did like his own overdubs and like did his own storylines and everything, and he starred in it too. And then it's better than any Jackie Chan movie you could ever see. I still have the VHSs of those. I know they'll probably, they'll be sought after one day. They're amazing. He has a piece in the video. Actually, it's a gigantic. I don't know why he painted the egrets, but he painted the egrets. I like to call them sandhill cranes, but they're egrets. I think I even talked about it, and I was like, "Oh, are those cranes?" Because the sandhill crane is like a local bird here, but he's like, "No, it's an egret."
Egret.
A giant top to bottom egret on like the biggest boxcar known to the United States, which is like the GT double door smoothies. Like he had 2 egret heads.
Really?
It's just crazy. Like what? Like what's that man thinking?
So what size do you think that is? Like what? Like people that don't know the size of that. Like what size do you think that is? Like how many feet by how many feet?
Now some of the rail nerds are going to correct me on this, but I believe that the double door GT smoothies are 90 feet across.
And
I don't know how high, because the height can fluctuate depending on the air brakes, but I think they're probably like 24 feet high.
Back
The spot they were
top to
doing
bottom.
them was actually here in Albuquerque too. It was down on somewhere by somewhere, But that spot doesn't exist anymore, so there's really no opportunity to do those things. But those
He had some deep science to those too. I remember hearing because I think that egret is actually an extinct bird right now, and he painted it because I'm not too sure exactly. I've heard this through the brother Irish, because him and Irish were homies too and still are. But I believe like the country that the egret is from was actually being bombed on, and it was Saigon's way of bombing the system back, showing it like,
of course,
this is like what you should be seeing. because the e-grid was actually prevalent at one point in time. But man, there's a lot of science to the reasons why some of these riders do these top to bottom, end to end.
Yeah.
It's really dope to see. And I'll never forget one time when Mike brought out Phase 2 out here to Albuquerque, and
Good move on that one.
being into the we call the song style writing. Phase 2 is the one who coined the name, I believe, style writing, instead of it being graffiti. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think graffiti was termed graffiti from the people who were against the riding on the trains and stuff. And I remember seeing Phase 2 out here in Albuquerque, which blew my mind. And
Did you go to his talk at the theater?
I didn't go to his talk,
okay.
but I seen him like watching a lot of the b-boy circles.
Right.
And, yeah, he was a very smooth dude, and respect Phase 2, man.
Yeah.
So
And that's
Phase
another
2.
thing about this. I mean, just showing how Def knows, you know, about that. Like I had nothing to do with anything with the lyrics of the song or the title or anything. And when I got the title of the track, I was like, he's referencing the goddamn Phase 2. So I had to go dig out the book, and then I dug. Phase 2 has a record from like '82 on Celluloid Records, and there's a part in the video where I have that silly little alligator guy, and I have the Phase 2 record right there. You'd have to pause it and look, but you'll see the Phase 2 amongst about a million other things in there that I kind of carefully positioned before I took that shot. But the Phase 2 was the main one because the style writing, again, that was I mean, he coined that. He coined just about every phrase. Like he coined the term bubble letter. I mean, Jesus, you know.
You might have been one of the first two to use the arrows in the pieces too,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Basically, everything came down to him.
Yeah, he
And,
was.
you know, when you think of like a seed, like he was like the first sprout that came out of that seed in New York's subway graffiti.
Was he a
And
spray
everything
can
kind
art?
of branched out from him, but he came along later, and you know, in his book talked about the fact that graffiti or graffiti art, however you want to term it, that was basically almost like the name that the oppressor gives you. You know, we're going to give you that name, that way when people reference it, they're going to think negatively. Exactly what you're saying. So every time we talk about, you know, beautiful art on the subway and call it graffiti, people are like, oh, it's graffiti, it's costing us taxpayer money. You know, so you'll be against it, and then the politicians will have their platform, you know, that they can use to help get elected. But so he coined the term style writing. You know, it was really couldn't have had a better title for the track. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Word.
and that's, you know, that was all from Def.
And you can find the video on YouTube, and you can search it under.
You can find it on YouTube at Serpent City Records, Def-i. So the way I spell my name is DEF-I. A lot of times I get confused with Def1, who I believe is a writer. And there's also an MC named Def1 too, but that ain't me. I'm Def-i. DEF-lowercase letter I.
Okay, what does that mean?
Def-i is like I have a couple different meanings for it. When I was a little kid, reading library books, you know how they have like the elementary library books where they're a few pages long, and then back at the end you have a glossary section where it shows the meanings and definitions of words. Anyway, I found a hip-hop book when I was a little kid in 3rd grade, and I looked up the words in the back, and I seen the word def. Def, you know, means like fresh, being dope, and I is just who I am, so I just put Def-i because, you know, I believed I was going to be dope, and I really worked hard at it. There's also hi-fi, lo-fi, and somewhere in the middle there's Def-i or DeFi. So I
Right,
believe
with a Y.
there's even a plugin that Pro Tools came up with too, and it kind of correlates with my style of music, and it's like you have like an acoustic organic sound that still is able to coexist in a digital realm, and that's what Def-i means
That's
too.
the Def-i.
That's dope.
And it's also an acronym for definitely eternal, forever eternal. I mean, I've been studying a lot of like Wu-Tang shit for a while, and like I loved how they were able to create acronyms out of all these words, like cream, you know what I mean, and all that. And I had came up with my own, but it basically means like what's inside you lives on further than, you know, your actual physical form. So I use music to like try to live beyond our years. There's other meanings to it too.
Dope.
But Def-i is who I am. So I mean, I thought about changing the name like 5 or 6 years ago, but everyone's like, nah, that's who you are. couple of my homies from the Bay were like, nah, stick with that.
Yeah.
And I've been sticking with it, and it's pretty cool because recently there was a younger artist who actually changed his name from Def-i after he found out about me. And he did it out of respect, and he changed his name to a name that was more true to his name. And I was like, damn, man, props, bro. I didn't expect some kid from out in LA or the West Coast to actually know who I was, let alone have enough respect to change his name for me. So I was like,
That's
damn,
deep.
that's dope, man. Much respect. So I guess we're getting out there. And props to everybody who's seen the music video. It's really getting a lot of spin on Facebook. So
Yeah.
if you want to check it out on Facebook, it's facebook.com/DefRapper, DEFRAPPER. So if you want to check that out, yeah, that's where it's getting a lot of love right now. And we got much more in store.
We're gonna make the
The vinyl's going to get pressed out really soon
This one?
from Serpent City Records. Right now we're about to play a joint from Serpent City Records, actually produced by DJ Kayote, and it's got legendary MC Rashawn Ahmad on the microphone on here.
On the vocal.
On
This is the
vocals.
instrumental.
Yeah. This is the instrumental
Is that
record he's
instrumental?
about to play.
Can we throw the
Yeah,
regular?
play that one.
Man, I just
Side
to
two or side
speak
one?
onto that record a little
Side
bit.
two.
Much props and respect to this joint right here. The beat is very dope, and DJ Kayote has a dope ear for digging for records and also picking out breaks and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was cool how when we put out the video to Style Writing, there was this one individual who was able to have a good enough ear
Dude, yeah,
to pick out the record, and he actually called it. I guess he studies breakology, and
Really?
he really was like, yo, where did you get that sample from? And I was like, I didn't produce it, DJ Kayote did. And Kayote came in, and yeah, all vinyl, no represses.
Yeah.
Big ups, man.
I didn't steal anything from anyone else. The sample stuff, I wouldn't disclose on here what it was, but it's not a completely unknown record. Actually, it's a very popular record amongst like house music DJs and electronic music
EDM stuff,
aficionados. Very famous group, but for whatever reason, that song never really got touched on, and I always loved it. And when I knew what the lyrics were going to be, like I had to think back to like the days when I used to go out and paint things and what I would want to hear. Like we used to listen to Gangstar and Smith & Wesson over and over and over again. That was what was on the tape deck while we were out crushing the city. Like and those memories are so vivid, and like I was wanting something that could hit that part of your hypothalamus. Like if you listen to it enough, like if you listen to it at night, like your adrenaline hits the tips of your fingers. And I've driven around at night listening to this track, not this track, this one obviously also, but the Style Writing track, and it does that. And I think it could ingrain that way in a lot of writers. I think it's dope, but the sound itself again is not. It's not an unpopular tune. Like it's just never really got used. To me, it never really got used properly, and I felt that I had a green light to use it. I have what I feel are pretty solid ethics about sampling. Like if you're gonna sample something, one, it better be not something that everybody knows. Like when Puff Daddy samples some famous disco tune. Oh, it's so hard to get popular when you sample something that's already sold 1,000,000 copies.
Right.
Gee, you rap over it. Oh, I'm so shocked that you're successful with that. The beat digging, the science of it is finding the unknown track, the track that no one's ever found of, that they wouldn't even think to look at. Like you looked at the record, like most people just pass up on it, but you have the ear and the wherewithal to like flip it over, read the back, find out who the drummers were or who produced it, whatever, and you're like, man, like this label or this artist, like I know enough about it to like spend $1 on it and you pull it back in and boom, there it is. But the track for the Style Writing was not one of those. It's one that this guy named DJ Magnum Funk, who used to spin out here back in the early 2000s, turned me on to. And I always played it at the B-Boy shows when I do the B-Boy jams. That song was one of the final battle tunes, and it's super fast, and so I would slow it down to like -8 on the turntable, and then it still sounded hella fast though, and that's why it's known by like house music DJs and such. It's like 100. I think it's like around 120 BPM. But I slowed it down even more.
Wow.
Than that actually to make it fit like the cadence that we have. And I think it came out awesome.
Yeah, it's a dope record. I can't wait to see the vinyl of it too, man. It's really dope.
Yeah, and the vinyl's actually on order right now. It's gonna be, we're gonna start with a 45 single. So it's gonna be part 1 on side A and then part 2 on side B. And then I think I'm also gonna get with the Jiving Scientists and talk to them about a little special project. I haven't even told you about that. I'm gonna let it kind of be a surprise to you too.
All right, dope. Yeah, shout out to JS too, man. My man Finn. He's a digger too.
Yeah, Finn and Frenchie.